As per Chris put a medical report out, I think this morning, and as such, really, Hanno's going across for this scan this afternoon, but that's likely to be a significant knee injury, which is clearly devastating for the boy. I mean, just had a couple of knocks this year, but come back and been a strong rugby performer for us, especially prior to Christmas into the Champions Cup Exeter game and through the recent block of games. Nicky's going through HIA protocols now, so we've given him a window perhaps to see come the weekend he may be available. And Adam has made a slightly Lazarus-like recovery, I guess. He's getting a bit of stick, but may well be involved, albeit that would be a push.
And what about Alan Wynne and Tyler Ardron, people like this? Are you expecting any others back?
No, as we are, and as consistent as we've been around selection and these 3 games, really.
Say Arnold's looks quite significant. Griff, I mean, are we talking he might not be available for the start of next season?
Possibly. We'll know the full extent today. I wouldn't want to speculate, but they'll search and we'll see what we find there.
How is Alan Wynne? Just is he back to training?
He's doing physical-based work. There's a little skill element to what he's doing, in partnership with the governing body as well, obviously in NDC. Hugh Bennett's doing some good work with him, and he's in good spirits. He was in the coach's box on the weekend. I enjoyed having him in that area and him to see a different part of the game, and he's contributing clearly off the field around some of our planning and what we're doing for the future, but also around some of our set piece plans as well.
Griff, I guess Hannah's injury offers an opportunity for you and Walker.
Yeah, potentially. I think there's a recurring theme around the season and injuries and people coming in and taking opportunities. Eli's had his own physical ailments, and there's aspects of his game we're trying to drive him on to be bigger and better. Hence didn't play on the weekend, but it may be an opportunity for them. You've got people like Tom Grabham in the background as well, firing, and there's alternate options. Sam Davis comes to 15 on a lot of games for us with Dan shifting to the wing and always does a good job. So it's not cast in stone, where we'll actually go with it.
Just on what you're speaking to him, he doesn't look like he's coming down to 20s. What's been the thinking behind him? He's a 19-year-old lad who's come to this year. What's the thinking behind maybe he's got resting and coming back next season?
Yeah, I think thankfully, there's a big picture here around putting the individual at the heart of the discussions, and the Welsh Rugby Union have been working really closely around Owen's development for over 12 months or so, really, because we spoke last year in pure rugby terms. We debated having him involved in the group last year, but we put his physical needs first. His schooling came first last year, and then he did have age group commitments last year, so we've been nurturing that. Around then, picking up things around the latter part of pre-season, he was involved in our rugby work, but we give him a little opportunity early season for him to have a little taste of it, but it was clear physically he wasn't quite at the races to go fully around the professional game. So he's had to work his way around getting the top-ups conditioning around this season. During season isn't always easy, but we've managed that around BNI programme, then into a sort of congested league programme, and managing his age group work as well. But the crux of it is, I think having a good summer with us can again consolidate some bumps and niggles, and a lot of these young athletes are picking up the rigours of the pro game and picking up a few little things there that we've got to rehab properly to actually have prevention rather than cure in terms of medical work, but also physically being bigger and better, being able to cope with the demands that could be put on him next year from a professional point of view. And here's a guy that us and the governing body want to achieve at the highest level, so I think it's really managing him carefully and smartly to do that, and to have a full season with us means he could potentially flourish. We've seen in the past players have done countless summers around 18s, 20s, senior tours. They never really get a full summer, and I think having the benefit of that with Owen now could be massive for him and us.
Can you empathise with his disappointment at missing the World Cup? You just said he's a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I can do. He's around a peer group which has been successful this year. They've achieved something fantastically for them, and I think it is important people go and play age group rugby, perform and succeed in those age group games. I think put a marker on the England and France's of the world that we can produce players that win those games. And the same is true of games in the past where our under-20s have beaten New Zealand around these tournaments and have done really well the last few years. But we're mindful of the fact, yes, we want all these group sides to succeed, but there is a bigger picture here. And I think Owen has been part of those discussions as well. He knows how we've managed this year, last year, got him to a point where he's clearly on the radar in lots of people's minds, and you know, we know that we want him to be able to flourish in the professional game, not just for the snippet of 6 months, 1 year, but a long and successful career, and this plays a part in that.
What about the game on Saturday, Griff? Would it be a really disappointing season for the Ospreys not to qualify for the top flight in Europe next season? How would you qualify that?
Yeah, it would be, but I think we've sort of battled those demons over the last couple of months and faced up to, that could be the reality, but faced up to them with a fight with actually, you know, let's go with what we are as a group. We've got a positive mindset around how we're trying to play the game. You know, we saw 4 fixtures ahead, which would need 20 points. We've got to 15, so why ever not give us another chance to go for another 5 and see what comes. It may not be good enough, and that would be disappointment, but you know, I think if you're year on year not sort of flourishing in this league, you know, we'd be worried. But we'll manage the summer next season, regardless of the competition, with our players' best interests and, you know, our drive to be as best we can be from next year onwards.
From the after the Scarlets game, it would be a fabulous achievement to get into in that position.
Yeah, and I think it is, and I think we've only ourselves to blame in many ways. For obviously we've gone through some of the reasons in the past, and I'm not going to dwell on them. But with the architects of putting ourselves into a real tricky position. But since then, the players, you know, deserve some great credit. Young, senior players alike have come back in, and have probably some of them started to witness what being an Osprey is about. It's people like Rees Webb and Dan Bigger, you know, drive certain messages. But it's not just about the rugby; it's how you conduct yourself, how you drive yourself to be the best you can be. Not come the weekend when you play Ulster, but what gets you to that point as well. So, you know, if there's a little bit of learning there for the future, well, whatever happens this weekend, we can actually look at this period and say, okay, well, that's a reasonable sort of line in the sand.
I guess the Scarlets are your second favourite team for one weekend only.
Yeah, they would be, and vice versa, ironically enough. But I felt, you know, when they beat us down at Liberty, you know, they did a job on us around set piece, contact area, and it was a story of how a lot of their season has gone around the league, certainly. And I think there's a good side there, and they can go certainly to Thomond Park in good heart. They've also got attacking threats on the field now, so you know, they can go there in good heart, as we can, and I think it adds up to a good mix for the league as well. I think things have changed around the qualification in this league, and for the better. You know, there's majority of the sides, 10 of the sides have got things to play for this week, and for all the flaws around the league and how the calendar is run, you know, you get to this point and it's genuinely mouth-watering.
You have anyone sort of monitoring the score of the Scarlets game while your game's going on, Griff, or will you wait till full time, or will you have the scores up as the games are going on?
Peter's always a good conduit for information to come in. Hasn't always gone well getting information in. Connacht away last year, we were looking for 4, and then having to keep an eye on the Glasgow game as well. We were a try from top spot. The European game in Exeter away, we were getting good updates from Pete, but regardless of that, we couldn't do a job on the pitch, so that certainly is our first priority anyway.
Do you take any confidence with that, Griff, in games where you needed to pick up bonus points, not just domestically but in Europe? You've been able to do it, you've had the game to do it. Are you confident you can do it again this weekend?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we do go into most games with a good positive mindset, and often in those games you've got to adjust to the referee, the conditions, the flow of the game. And I look at the games at Blues, Dragons, Edinburgh home. We've gone out there with a mindset to be positive, score tries, but you have to adjust, and in the end you get off the park with 4 points done. But there are, you know, other games, the European games are perhaps a different example, but we know we can be positive around it. It's a different challenge, you know, with respect to Dragons, Treviso and Blues to a lesser extent. You're talking now Ulster, you know, second best defensive side in the league, you know, really well rounded in terms of their attacking game. For people like Les Kiss, Joe Barakat, there's a bit of defensive experience and knowledge there. So we're not just going to be after as gung-ho as in some parts of our attack. We're going to have to be smart in where we eke out our tries and try and create some pressure to score tries as well. We're scoring some great open play tries, but we need to perhaps get them from different sources as well.
And they're not short of something to play for either, are they? You know, they're top 4 hopes from the line too. So just makes it even, you know, just going to be a tough all-out game, isn't it?
It is, and you know, talk about them having to have one eye perhaps on Thomond Park as well, because you know, if you know, Scarlets can pick up that extra point on them, regardless of Ulster winning. That sort of means Ulster may have to chase some tries as well. So the dynamic may have to change within it, but we'll learn more in the first quarter and go from there. That's our focus. Start well and get some foundation work from there.
Will you be looking for a high-scoring game, Griff, which could bring about the possibility of bonus points for one or both of you?
Yeah, again, I think we've seen our first possession sets of the game in recent matches. We've looked to play ball in hand and set a tempo around high ball in play, and I think Ulster would embrace that also. And it can be a minefield because there's times when without a possession we can be out of control as well with a couple of things. We put an offload down the weekend and we're not good enough defensively to shut them down. The Blues from scoring the other end. So you make that risk with any side, let alone an Ulster who could come alive with some of the threats they've got behind. I mean, they've got some of the best threats in the league and Europe. So it's hopefully having the best of both the things, both worlds as well.
How is Justin recovering from his head injury? How is that going? Do you know?
Yeah, better, a bit more physically active, and he's around the boys, watching training. He's going through his review process on the season and getting a few things in place to start working around his return to play, around summer work and so forth there. But again, there's nothing rigid in place. It's just being flexible in how the medical team just take his return to play protocols.
Do you expect Alan to be fit for the summer?
Sorry?
Do you expect Alan to be fit for the summer?
I'm sure he'd say certainly, and then there might be that couple of things that he's got to tick off, but I think the work he's doing now would suggest it's a large possibility.